in the living room.
Welcome everyone to this episode of Never Alone Live. I am Johnny and joined as always by Krista, the sober Barbie. And today, we are honored to have our good friend, Katie Graham, aka Katie Bug, aka Katie the Sober Alias. And I'm sure there's a lot of AKAs in her rap sheet, but we won't even bring them up.
Please don't.
Today, we are honored to have her because Katie is our dear friend, and Katie has 2 years sober today. Let's get it up.
Woo!
Dude, I'm so proud of you, man. Krista, what do you think of Katie in her 2 years?
I don't want to cry yet. I'm like over the moon proud of her, and she has shared her journey, the ups and the downs with us, and she's proof that the system is broken and you kind of do everything they say and good stuff happens. And I'm just grateful to be part of the journey.
Me too. So let's talk about how we met for a second. A little over a year ago, Krista says, "Hey Johnny, let's go on TikTok and read the daily reflections." And so I was like, "All right, we're gonna go spend 10 minutes." And this was with Brian as well. And we get in there, and Krista didn't know how to work the boxes. So it was like, okay, let's bring some people up. And Katie had joined us, and you were the first person to come in the boxes with us. And I remember celebrating your 1 year anniversary, and now here we are celebrating the second anniversary. Katie, how do you feel having 2 years sober?
It's wild, honestly. This is not the first time I've gotten clean. Like, I was clean for about 4 years prior to losing custody of my son. But like, I'm telling you, like, it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And now that I've gotten older, because I'm older than you, Johnny. So it's one of those things that, like, I can enjoy a laugh, like a genuine smile, a genuine laugh now, and enjoy moments and be able to grow. And like, you guys have taught me like so much in this past like year, like between you guys and NA and treatment court and all the things. Like, my journey is like wild. Like, it's genuinely wild.
So we're very lucky. We met on social media, right? And then we actually set up Charleston, and we did Freedom Fest, and Katie came to Charleston. We got to hang out twice, on 2 different occasions. So it's like we made virtual a reality, and and it was so cool when we met because we hang out every day, right? So like we meet in person, and it's just like, hey, how's it going? And it was just like, it wasn't like the first time meeting. There was no nervousness or awkwardness. It was just kind of love. It was awesome.
It was really cool. Like, like that first trip, when we were down there checking everything out, Johnny was the first one to show up, and like, I was just parked waiting, just waiting in the parking lot. And it was just like it was just, we'd hung out like a million times, and we went out to lunch that day and explored, and then the bike riding and all the fun stuff that we got to do, and like just enjoy each other's company and be able to go check out the different rehab centers and stuff like that. Like, we had a blast. Like, it was so much fun. I was so great. I needed that trip more than at that point in time in my life than I had realized until I got there. So
Amazing, Katie. Amazing. Let me jump over to the comments and say hello to Jay. Jay is here. And Sober Delora's here. Great that you made it in. And I believe our friend Patrick is here. And Minnie Long says hello. And
And there's a lot of people that are celebrating 2 years as well.
Yes, Jay is almost at 2 years, and BJ is I'm 1 year sober, and then Tristan celebrated 2 years in recovery as well. We're having a celebration today. Let us know your sober dates. We're gonna call everybody out today. Um, and so Katie, let's get into what got you here. You know, let's talk a little bit about this experience, strength, and hope.
Um, so growing up, like I had like the perfect childhood, the big house, the big nice family, the spoiling, everything that I ever wanted, I could have. But a lot of things happened whenever my parents got divorced. There was a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse that I witnessed, a lot of pain. And like I said this morning, hearing some of that pain in those words from like my father, what it felt like that's all I ever deserved in my life was to be treated that way. And I started using when I was 13. Well, never forget it. I was with my older brother at the house, and we used to have parties every other weekend at my dad's, and we're drinking, smoking some weed, all the things. And my brother gave me my first hit of weed, and it was kind of on like from there. And I did really well with not going out severely until I lost custody of my first son from failing for marijuana. Um, I was dating the dope man's son, so I ended up drinking more and ended up using. And once I picked up harder things, I was just stuck. I was lost. I felt like everything was hopeless for me. And then, I got to see my son as literally like foster parent status. They every other week, maybe for an hour, at their discretion, whether they allowed me to or not. When I met Hunter's dad, he kind of gave me an ultimatum. He was like, "It's either me and your family, or it's this life." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll get clean." So I ended up getting pregnant with Hunter, and as soon as my belly started showing, they stopped my visits with my other son. They said they didn't want him to know he had a brother. They didn't want him to know anything about him. And it kind of it hurt a lot. They blocked my entire family out of his life, out of my life. And so I started smoking weed again, not thinking anything of it. I wasn't doing it around my son, so I thought it was okay. After I left his father, I moved back to Greenville. Was still smoking weed, and the guy I was dating apparently at the time was smoking weed around Hunter, and his father got remarried, and the girl decided that she wanted my son and to take him from me. So he was never around for about 2.5, 3 years, and then all of a sudden wanted to pop back into his life and take him from where he was comfortable. And for me failing that test again for marijuana, I lost custody of him immediately because I knew what DSS would do. I immediately, without their consent or anything, went straight to a treatment program out of Spartanburg and started everything. And then I got a phone call about a week and a half later that DSS was not going to grant me a treatment program because of my previous case with my son, that I was pretty much shit out of luck. And so at that point, it took me about 4 months before I was back using harder drugs, and completely just like my son's father would let me see him for 15 minutes. I'd stay up all night working and then drive an hour and a half to go see him for 15 minutes. I got 2 of those visits and then it was stopped. After that, I just fell all the way off. I started doing a lot of gang affiliation things. started using harder. I ended up moving to Myrtle Beach and on some gang related things. Uh, Started trafficking drugs, started using harder, making very poor decisions. I was one of the ladies of the night when I couldn't make money from selling. I made a lot of poor choices, and it was because I was so lost and I didn't have anything or didn't feel worthy, because I never really felt like I was a worthy soul after hearing all the things I did as a younger child. Like I was just this and that, and every ugly word you could think of, I was called by somebody close to me, or I was abused by somebody close to me. So I got in some more trouble, and I ended up getting arrested uh, almost 4 years ago, for trafficking about 3 different substances. And then I decided that I was just going to ignore it. I showed up to a couple of roll calls and then just thought it would go away because I wasn't hearing anything else. And but before all that, I got a phone call. I tried to clean up my life a little bit. My mom called right before Christmas, and I won't ever forget it. She laid down these rules. She was like, and I didn't know why at the time. I was high whenever she called, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like she was saying, you can't say anything crazy. You need to be by yourself. You don't need to um, tell anybody, all these things. And I just could not figure out what she was talking about. And then she said, hold on. She said, will you go outside? And I went outside because I had people over. And then when she turned the camera back on, it was my son at almost 5 or 6 years old, I think. And it just blew my mind. I wasn't prepared for that, at all. And I just broke down. And I said, I'm going to try to do the right thing. I never got sober for my kids. I never got sober for anybody. I just still tried to fill a void because I wasn't able to see him. I could hear his voice, but I couldn't see him. And it was very rare that I got to hear his voice. But, you know, like I said, I ignored court. I ended up getting married in the middle of my addiction. And a month after I got married, I got locked up for some failure to appears. I had 3 failure to appears for those charges. And it was really, really hard on not only myself, but my relationship. Uh, I was there for 4.5 months. So my honeymoon was literally spent in J. Reuben Long Detention Center. And I got sober right before I went to jail. I went to jail in August, and I got clean July 22nd because I got to a point where I was just angry. I was mad. I became an IV user, so I was just mad that I couldn't get high and I could watch everybody else get high, and I would just cry and cry and cry. And I said, I've had enough. I didn't want anymore. And um I isolated really bad. I got in a lot of fights with my husband at the time. So bad that my landlord is actually who called the police after us finding out that I had the warrants, and they picked me up at my old best friend's house. But that's what saved me. Honestly, that's what saved my life. I joined a program in jail because I was sitting there not knowing what my sentence was going to be. I didn't know if I was going to be going to prison for 5 years or 3 years, or what exactly was going to happen. And so in J. Reuben, they opened a program. It's called Next Steps, and it's to help support recovery. A peer support based program where they help you with therapy. They help you learn different skills and coping. Um, and they taught me a lot about anger. They taught me a lot about hope. Um, and from there, that's where I just opened my eyes and I said, you know what? this is no life for me. I don't want this life anymore. I want what these people have. I want that freedom that these people have. So
Katie,
that third,
interrupt you for a second because
sure.
I wanna because you talk a lot about I mean with the past, right? We've got to focus on the past for a minute, and I want to jump over to the comments because Mike from Sober Hats is here and saying, "Hey, Katie," and then Jessica, Dinosaur Jessica's here. Nicole is here. Brandy, Dandy, Brandy is here, and all the love right now. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew about it. Our friend Chuck is here. Krista, I don't know if you saw Chuck's in here. Well, he was. And then Don Molen, 3 years on August 25th for me, one day at a time. Nicole asked a question. And I don't want to ignore this question. It is Poppy is here. Poppy. How long did it take for those intrusive thoughts to leave your mind and give you peace? How long did it take for the intrusive thoughts to leave your mind? As we're going, if you could answer that question. So right now we're talking about, we talked about your past. Krista, I mean, hearing all of this, our job is to relate. How do you?
Our story is very simple. It's different, but it is very similar. I came from a great family. Like you look back and it's like Leave It to Beaver, and then we are around, I'm a little older than Katie, but we're around the same age. We grew up in the same time, and that's when like social media and all types of stuff, we kind of were the age that ruined it for everyone.
Probably.
But it's like we talk about this a lot, the progressiveness of all of it. Like you start out just hanging out, partying until it's not a party anymore, and it's life or death. And I just think it's really cool, the divine order and how everything happened the way it happened, and how she ended up where she did when they started that program, and like she jumped on it and was ready. Like if it was years before that, maybe she wouldn't have been ready to take it,
And that's I mean, the book tells me that my past becomes my greatest asset. And now, Katie, we've been able to watch you, and you help so many people, just because you're so honest, right? You're honest, you share your past. There's a lot of women that have gone through the same thing that you've gone through, and I've seen you help them literally, and and it's amazing. So I asked you what the past was like, and Nicole's in the comments, same, rich town, big house, all the stuff, but that didn't stop, alcoholism and drug addiction from taking over. So now let's get into this next part, and we're not going to forget that question, the intrusive thoughts. When do the intrusive thoughts leave? But right now I'm going to ask about the gift of desperation. So you woke up, you're in jail, and what was different this time? Because you woke up in jail before, what was different this time?
I think this time, being at the age that I was 35, and I was just over that life. I was tired. I was trying to be hopeful. Like originally for that program, like 'cause the part of the jail I was in at the time, it was 23-hour lockdown. You're only out for maybe an hour if you get out. I was like, oh, this is freedom at first, like this is a chance to get free out of these doors and out of this little bitty cell. And one of my favorite people, this is something I learned during my intake and during my time in drug court. My favorite counselor, Chris, he told me, he said there's a need to, a have to, and a want to. You start off with the need to, and you got to go to the have to because, you know, you don't want to go to prison or you don't want to. Y'all let me know if that wind gets to be too much. I'll go inside. Um, but and then there's a want to. While I was sitting in that jail cell, they moved me to a jail cell by myself, which was just great for a person with ADHD, you know. So I had a lot of time to read, a lot of time to think, um, and just watch. And I think that sitting there for that amount of time by myself and being able to just sit back and think, and I can't see outside and I can't see but what I can see out of my little baby window to the outside, you know, pod. It just, I didn't want to come back there. I didn't want to make those same choices anymore. I had realized that I had not only let myself down for so long, that I left my kids down, I left my family down. You know, and it was enough. Enough was enough. So
You know, then the gift of desperation is a beautiful thing because it allows us to become open minded, and allows us the ability to grow and change. You know, and it sucks that it takes pain, right? You know, pain is the motivator. Pain and heartache and loss and all that stuff. That's inevitably what the gift of desperation is, and you know, and in getting it and in changing, in growing, the program tells us that we're going to live a second life in one lifetime. And so let's jump to that for a second. I want to hear about drug court and stuff like that, and I want to talk about that, but I want to hear, like, the hope now, the what's life like now for Katie 2 years in.
drug court saved my life. I will never forget. I was terrified. I was terrified. When I first met Chris Hawker, I was talking about this in my speech at my graduation. When I met Chris Hawker, I was scared to death because he was just this no nonsense, sitting on the other side of a glass panel person, and basically told me if I didn't want this, then I just needed to go to go to prison. You know, if I didn't want to do the work, just don't waste anybody's time. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Um, but it was overwhelming. Drug court was very overwhelming at first. I'm gonna go inside because the wind is a little ridiculous. But it was an overwhelming feeling of being scared, of not knowing, uh, of am I going to be able to do this? Like my mother even said that she didn't think I was going to make it, to be honest with you. And that was kind of hurtful in a way for me to hear because I didn't think that. I was like, well, there's somebody that doesn't trust me that's supposed to be part of my support system. And so drug court, it gave me accountability. It gave me more honesty, being honest with myself and with others. It broke me. That's for sure. It definitely broke me, but in a good way. It broke me in a way that, like, I learned so much more about myself. Like, one of my favorite classes, and I call it the runaway line because everybody has to go to stand in the hallways to have their drug test done. And I came out of the bathroom and counselor said, okay, well, you're going to be in this room. I need you to go there now. And I was like, oh God, what did I do? But it ended up being an MRT, a moral recognition therapy class that dug into our childhood and took us way back to where everything first started, taught us not to blame anybody but ourselves for what our choices are. Um, and it really opened my eyes to where everything started, and that I had to hold myself like truly accountable, and let things go and forgive. And like it was almost like it was like step work, but about 4 or 5 more steps involved. um, but it also taught us gratitude of being what we could be grateful for now that we may have lost then, but we can grow now from. It also taught me, you know, what real life is about. It was really aggravating. I'm not going to lie, to drive 45 minutes every other day to, to Conway and have to pee in a cup. But it was also a new family. Like I made so many amazing friends, and I learned so much. Like Chris was one of my biggest aggravators, but my biggest pusher as well. Um, Especially when it came down to my marriage and what the things that were going on in my marriage at the time. He helped me get into Oxford. He helped me realize that if I stayed where I was in that life, in that house, that I was going to either go back out or end up failing out of drug court. But as I walked across that stage back in May, like almost it was like happy tears, but sad tears. Because like I look back like at the last that podcast I did with oh God, what's his name? Anthony Owens. And I was looking at that video the other day, and I'm like, I showed up in a courthouse with a neck brace on with matted bloody hair after being in a hospital for 8 hours getting my head stapled from all the craziness, and like how much growth that I've made, being able to speak, like wanting to speak, wanted and asked to speak at local events. And I mean, it pushed me to go get my peer support license, and it pushed me to be better in Oxford as a chapter officer, and being able to help other women that are early in recovery. Like my best friend, she had about 3 months clean, and I got to watch that. I got to watch her, and she's now almost 8 months clean. So, it's just it shows you more compassion. Like it forced me to have to, as a court mandate, to go to meetings and things, but those people became family, and it became something that I wanted to do, not something I had to do. Like I go back down this weekend on Saturday and celebrate with that family, and I'm so excited because I miss them. But you know it teaches you so much about life that as an addict you kind of forget, because the drugs and the alcohol become so dependent on you that you're not thinking about bills or family or everyday life. Like it forces you to have those things. It forces you to have a job. It forces you to be honest. It forces you to learn how to be responsible with your stuff, like because we have to pay fees every week, and if you don't, you get in trouble. I won't ever forget being late for 5 minutes, late for court, and that was one of my only sanctions. And then because I went to the landfill one time, and I said I'm never getting in trouble again, because it was terrible. But no, I am forever grateful for them, and so yeah.
Ray says, "Congratulations, Katie." And Nicole says, "You did everything you needed to do, and you succeeded. Look at where you are now. Be proud." I'm telling you, that's a great one right there. And Brandy Dandy says, "Good stuff." And actually, so it probably sounds more like "good stuff, twin." Y'all don't even
probably.
Y'all don't even know that's all that good stuff there. Is that Natasha? Nalisha. I have 7 years coming up next month. My partner finally kicked alcoholism, and that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about this intrusive thoughts comment that Nicole made. Krista, let's start with Krista. Krista, how do you get rid of intrusive thoughts? What are intrusive thoughts?
It's like thoughts that you can't control. Maybe trauma that like creeps up, like bad stuff, maybe stuff that you've done and you regret, or things that were done to you. I've done a lot of inner healing work in the last 2 years. I will, by the grace of God, have 11 years, August 6th. Just celebrated 4,000 days. But I've worked a program my whole recovery, but it wasn't until recently that I've really put God front and center, and I've done a faith-based 12-step program, and I've done some serious inner healing. And it's really, the closer I get to God and the more I give him, the more he removes from my thoughts. Like, that's the answer for me. I got to give it all up to him. My job, my family, my life, my home, my pets. They drive me crazy, my pets. But everything goes to God, the good and the bad. So that's where I've had a lot of my, I don't really have too many. I mean, I suffer from a lot of grief, a lot. And recently, a lot of it's been like kind of like tidal waves, like flooding back into my head. And I have to immediately turn it over to God, because it makes me really sad, really sad. But that's the only cure to that I have.
When it comes to these intrusive thoughts and the questions, anxiety, depression, PTSD, bipolar, all these mental health things, the intrusive thoughts that yell for solution, right? I'm not good enough. How are we going to fix this? I didn't do this right. How am I going to fix this? I hurt these people. How am I going to fix this? And before, all those intrusive thoughts were, solved by alcohol and drugs. And today it has to be different. So I have to find different solutions, having my network, having, the fellowship, having my program, having steps, being able to do stuff. And then most of all, God, for me personally. Katie, what do you think? What about intrusive thoughts?
For me, I suffer with anxiety and stuff like that. I think my anxiety got worse when I got sober, to be honest with you. But now, like, I think back now that me and my husband have, reunited and things like that. I still have those fears of the past, of what had happened, and if it's going to happen again. Like, I've had a lot of those in the last couple of weeks, just because that fear, like, a lot of my intrusive thoughts are fear-based. And my anxiety starts going crazy. My entire recovery has been program-based, and, I finally surrendered a lot, back in January, and let a lot of things go, and brought God back into my life a lot fuller. And I've had a lot of luck with network, as far as, the TikTok recovery crew, and my NA family, my Oxford family, for sure. Oxford has really helped me through a lot of those intrusive thoughts, because you have more, like, I was one of the people who came into Oxford with a lot more time. So I was able to be there for those who were just coming in with a lot less time than I have, or were in houses with less time than me. But I have to find things to be grateful for. Like the little things. Like, I don't look for massive things to happen. I take everything one day at a time. Like yesterday, see me out there in the water in my chair, just relaxing, because, like, those little things, like, it helps. being able to take a step back and breathe. And I pray in the morning when I get up, I pray at night when I go to bed. And that wasn't part of my recovery for a long time, because I felt for so long that God just had it out for me. Like I was just not worthy of that. And I finally surrendered that, and that was huge for me. And once I did, and I let so much go, my anxiety is not as bad as it used to be, we'll put it that way. um you know like I'm an overthinker. I've always been an overthinker. So like I try to let those when those intrusive thoughts come in, I try to just be like, okay, you're crazy. It's fine. It's totally fine. And I try to either go find me a book or find something on the TV or something to distract me from that, because I know it's not a true feeling. It's just a thought that doesn't need to stay there. So
That's amazing. And Nicole, hopefully we answered a little bit of your question about intrusive thoughts, So we've got Keely Cordell is in here, says hello everyone. Crystal McConnell, 5/29/24. So she's got 2 years as well. That's awesome. We've got this is the 2-year party. And Amanda is in here and says, Katie Bug, congrats. And Nalisha told me how to say her name properly. So thank you for that, Nalisha. Brandy asks me to ask a question. So now this isn't my question. This is Brandy's question. Ask how God played a role in her rescue. So Katie Bug, the question from Brandy, Brandy, so you can be mad at her, is how did God play a role in your rescue?
Honestly, Brandy was a big part of my finding God. I'm not gonna lie about that. She prayed harder for me than I probably had anybody ever pray for me in my life. But I feel like the day that I decided, it was probably back in November, that I just had to let go, was whenever I got tired of seeing that I couldn't control things. I couldn't control what was going on around me, in my marriage and my home. And it was time to surrender it all. And that included myself. And I just dropped down. I think Brandy had prayed for me like a couple of days before this, and I was just in tears. And I felt something that day, and I said, you know what? As long as I harbor onto it, it's like harboring demons and feelings. And it was more resentment than I needed to hold on to. Like the devil was trying to pull me down with, that situation that I was in. And I said, I can't do this. I've come way too far. It's not worth it. I have, made it this far, and I can't turn back. And so I literally just dropped to my knees that day, and I just prayed. And I think that's what started giving me my strength to set those healthy boundaries and walk away from a situation as much as it hurt. And then as soon as I started my peer support, I prayed about that. I prayed about this whole Oxford thing, because I wasn't approved for the first Oxford house, and I was like, I need this. I need this group of women for my own self, because that way I know I'm not alone in the suffering and needing somebody to be there. And I'm grateful for those women, because they definitely helped me through a lot of this stuff. So, but yeah, that back in November, really, when I dropped to my knees after Brandy said that strong prayer, that's when I really started believing.
So, it's so Brandy and put in the comments, Josh is a miracle, and Josh is your husband, and Josh has struggled, but is now on the other side. And, I think that this was nothing happens in God's world by mistake, right? You met Krista, who went through that same struggle. And, I know how you guys have bonded about it. Krista, when you met Katie and found out about her struggles with her husband, how did that make you feel?
All right, I'm gonna cry now.
Yes.
Um, I saw myself. I saw myself because you want to. You're doing the best you can. You're making it out, and then you almost want to like you want to shake it into them. Why can't you get it? You know, and they see you doing the damn thing. You know, but it was literally like my story, and like enough, like you just said, nothing happens by mistake. And the most beautiful part about this whole thing is Josh went to the treatment center I went to. And I knew for a fact it was gonna work because it worked for me. But I knew he was in good hands, and like you can't make that up. Like, and they shared their journey with us. Like he'd pop in our meetings and give us updates, and like it was just it's a whole new creation, a new person, and um it's not gonna be like just because someone gets sober, it's not easy. It's not. There's still a fight to fight, you know, and there's a lot of trauma that played a role in that. So you're still kind of, I mean, 20 months later, I'm still trying to work through a lot of stuff that I went through. But it's proof, more proof God's real, you know, and he was behind, he's the ticket out. He's it.
Yeah.
He's the ticket to life. But
Yeah, and
it's just so nothing happens by mistake.
yeah, and like that's like Johnny said, that's one thing we bonded over because she knew exactly what I was going through as a wife to somebody that you just have to watch basically unaliving themselves over and over and over. And she just kept telling me, be the example, just keep being an example. He'll figure it out. And I won't ever forget that day. No, I'm gonna cry. I told him.
Thanks, Johnny.
I told him in March, because he had been supposed to go in February, and he kept putting it off and kept putting it off. And the last phone call I made to him was, "If you don't get on that bus, then this is it. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself and your kids." And he sent me a picture of him in front of the bus, and uh, he didn't look like himself. He looked like a ghost. And then, but I was still angry with him that he had left me with so much stuff to take care of. So he called me, and I basically told him I wanted nothing to do with him. I hope the program worked for him, but I couldn't do it anymore. And then I waited about a month, and he called me back, and it was like a whole new person had been like born. And then my first time seeing him, in that 3.5 months was for Mother's Day. I came down here and went and picked him up for Mother's Day weekend, and it was like seeing somebody that I used to know, that person that I fell in love with almost 4 years, because God, it's been almost 4 years now. In December it'll be 4 years that we've been together, and watching him grow and the same journey that you guys watched with me, I get to watch with him. I'm so like he has made comments that piss me off. Don't think he doesn't. He has said things that question everything, but at the same time, it also reminds me of myself when I was in early recovery, and I said the things like, "Oh, I just want to say forget this and go use," things like that. And I have to remember that I was that person too, because if I didn't say it out loud and hear myself say it, then I harbor that. But I'm so proud of him. When he commenced, I cried like a baby. My dad was there. Just seeing how much life he brought into that program, like, and how many people and lives that he touched. It just reminded me of myself, through my journey. And so for him to now be able to go back, like I said, tonight he goes back and he's chairing steps 10, 10, 11, and 12 meeting tonight. And he texted me this morning and he said, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna take a shower, and I'm gonna go over there early because I feel like I need to be there. I need to be there around the guys. And it's so great because before he wouldn't have done that. He would have just thrown it out the window and said, "Okay, I did my time. I'm done." And here he is wanting to put that work back in and wanting to be there for people and seeing that that program, those meetings that I was so gung ho on, actually mean something and help. Because it was like pulling teeth to get him to try to go to a meeting with me, but now it's like, "Ooh, we're going to commencement," or "Ooh, I'm going to go chair a meeting," So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for Brian Reddy and all the guys at I met Brian Reddy the other day, on last Friday that we went, and Liam and all of them. They're just Trevin, all of them are so great, and they caught hell with Josh because Josh is a handful.
Yeah, he sure
but
is.
but I'm grateful because as many times as they probably could have thrown him out, they kept him, and he persevered through, and he's doing really good. So I'm very proud of him.
You know,
Shout out to the Oaks in Greenwood, South Carolina.
watching you two come together with a special bond, right? Is a beautiful thing. And so when Krista and I went to Akron last month, it's for Bill and Bob. It's where they met and started the program. But it was wild because me and Krista are there and we're both in recovery, and it's like she related to Anne, who was Bob's wife, so well, and just took that on, and it was just and seeing you do the same thing now, and when it comes to working with others, it doesn't matter if they're a family member or a friend or a stranger. Working with others is working with others. And there's a line in the book that I'm going to read, and it speaks so much to all of this and the relationship we have with you, Katie, and now the relationship that we have with Josh and what you're seeing with Josh. But it's the line is this, and life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives, and here we are, right? And we've got this beautiful fellowship growing around us, and all of the TikTok friends coming in here and showing all the love, and all the relationships that we've built since starting all this. It's just amazing, and watching you grow and watching things change for you over this last year has been so cool. And seeing you help others, and seeing now Josh went to treatment and now he's helping others. This is the miracle. And our friend Minnie Long's in here, and she's got 22 years as well, and this is the amazing part. This is the part where we really get to sit back and smile and know that God has put people in our life for a reason, and know that that reason is love. And I'm telling you, this has been so phenomenal. Katie Bug, how are you feeling?
I feel good, it's like I tell my friends all the time, like I don't always see the growth in myself, but others have seen it in me. And I was always one of those people like, I don't believe it, whatever, it's fine. But from who I used to be to who I am now, it's like night and day. And I'm just blessed. I'm grateful. I'm blessed to have people and family and friends that, whenever I need somebody, I know all I have to do is pick up that 500-pound phone, and I literally call it a 500-pound phone because that's what it is. Um, but you know, I'm grateful for the things that have happened in my recovery, the ups and the downs, the wins and the losses. Because it's like I said, I think it was yesterday. It's taught me to remain teachable and to learn, because something I might lose at and somebody else wins at might be something I needed to hear, and vice versa. So I take that in my everyday life. I take that whenever I was in Oxford. I take that into my Oxford houses for visits, or if I'd have to go save the day in Oxford or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's really where I feel like I belonged, at the time. It was where I was needed. It was where I needed to be. So it was like a full circle for me. And you know, since leaving, I can tell that I've left. It's just been different. It's been quiet. But it's kind of like I said this morning, I have to be able to sit with myself and be okay with being just with me, and being okay with not being okay some days. So, you know.
Katie Bug. So Minnie Long, Krista, you're gonna love this. Minnie Long says, I have a group of teenage boys that watch you every week. They really dive into what you guys talk about. I really appreciate what you guys do. That is awesome, Minnie.
Yes.
So she says, please say hi to my boy. I have 15 boys listening. So Minnie.
Hey, Minnie's boys.
What's up, boys? It's so glad that you guys are here and listening. I hope you guys get something out of this. And Janae DeLang, look at, she says, you go, girl. Look at, that's exactly how it sounded. You go, all the way from South Africa, and almost 6 months sober. And look at, you got fans in South Africa. Krista's got fans in Pakistan. I'm telling you, this is global.
We love that guy.
And we're worldwide. Recovery's worldwide, because addiction is worldwide. We got to spread recovery more.
Nicole says, I love y'all. Katie Bug, you are the ultimate female. Oh my goodness. I
don't know about that, but thanks.
I don't know. She's the Lake Mermaid.
And if you ever noticed, Johnny missed over a comment when Brandy said I was beautiful and looked like new money.
What? Yeah.
I think he did that on purpose.
Where was that? I didn't see that.
It was up there. He skipped that one.
All right, I'm gonna read Brandy's Harris comment. I've got it right here. Sober Barbara, my bestie. Look how beautiful she is. She's shining like new money. And thank you, twin. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Krista, you got any closing comments?
I'm just grateful Katie came on here on her 2 years, and what hope you give. You inspire me every day when I get to talk to you, and I'm grateful I've got to meet you in person, and I'm grateful you liked us enough to help us start off this TikTok thing we do every morning, because it's more than just an app. I mean, we see so many miracles. Like, it brings tears to my eyes, and I wish we should write a book on all these stories, because people won't believe it. How much hope, a little bit of hope can go such a long way, and you keep shining, and I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
This has been so tremendous. I'm so glad you came here, Katie. 2 years sober, and so we'll see you again in a year. So everybody mark their calendars.
We'll see you every day.
You'll see me in the morning. It's fine.
And everybody should come see us on TikTok in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.
And that's one of the biggest things. I think I was so, when I found y'all doing your daily reflections, I remember I was so broken. I was just lost. And I just remember listening, and I was like, well, maybe they'll want more people. They have boxes, but and
we've learned a lot.
I'm so grateful to be one of the original OGs of this group. Been able to meet you guys, Like me and Johnny have had long talks, you know, even whenever he's aggravating, of course. And then, you know, me and Krista has had long talks, and it's formed so many like friendships. Like I have so many friends now, like genuine friends from all over the country, all over the world. You know, just from this little app, you know, and you guys are truly making a difference, you know, um, if it wasn't for you guys and me finding you that day, I probably don't know where I'd be, you know, and I'm just grateful and
Same.
blessed, you know,
Same.
yeah, like I'm forever blessed to have you guys as not only my friends, but I consider y'all my family. So
Absolutely.
Well, Katie Bug, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing with us. Thank you all for tuning in. The 15 boys are jumping up and down and going crazy, so that's awesome. And let's see, Ricky just jumped in, and Johnny wants to see my demise. Nicole. One of these days, it'll be awesome. But thank you all so much. We love all of you, and we'll see you again next week, or come to TikTok. You'll see us tomorrow. God love you, so do we. And with that, see ya.